The moment, Rosa Kimball told Yates Brennan he would find someone better. She never imagined those words would come back to haunt her in the most unexpected way. Rosa had been working as Yates's executive assistant for 3 years at Brennan Hospitality Group, one of the largest luxury hotel chains on the East Coast. She knew his schedule better than he did, anticipated his needs before he voiced them, and had become an indispensable part of his daily operations. At 26, she was efficient, organized, and perhaps too dedicated to her job. Yates, at 31, was the youngest CEO in the company's history, having taken over from his father 2 years prior and tripled their revenue through strategic acquisitions and innovative guest experiences. Their professional relationship was seamless, built on mutual respect and an almost telepathic understanding of each other's working styles. Rosa could read his moods from the way he walked into the office, knew when to bring him coffee and when to leave him alone, understood which meetings required her presence and which ones he preferred to handle solo. They worked late nights together, traveled to property openings across the country, and navigated corporate crises with a partnership that made the executive team envious. But Rosa had made one critical error. She had fallen in love with him. It started slowly, imperceptibly, like the way seasons change. One day she noticed how his eyes crinkled when he laughed at something genuinely funny. Then she found herself looking forward to Monday mornings instead of dreading them. She started paying attention to the way he rolled up his sleeves when he was deep in thought, the slight furrow between his brows when he concentrated, the rare but brilliant smile that transformed his entire face. She kept it buried deep, locked away where it could not interfere with their work. Rosa was nothing if not professional. She dated other men, attended company events with appropriate enthusiasm, and never once let her feelings show. She told herself it was just an infatuation, that it would pass, that crushes on bosses were common and meaningless. Then came the day that changed everything. Yates had been dating Margaret Sinclair, a socialite from old money who fit perfectly into his world of charity galas and country club dinners. Rosa had coordinated many of their dates, made reservations at exclusive restaurants, arranged for flowers to be sent. Each task felt like swallowing glass, but she smiled through it, because that was her job. On a rainy Thursday afternoon in October, Yates called Rosa into his office. She grabbed her tablet, assuming he needed to reschedule something, but when she entered, she found him standing by the window, shoulders tense, staring out at the Boston skyline. "Close the door," he said quietly. Rosa's heart stuttered. Those 3 words in that particular tone meant something personal was coming. She closed the door and waited. "Margaret and I are done," he said, turning to face her. His expression was unreadable, but there was something raw in his eyes. "She ended it this morning." "I'm sorry," Rosa said automatically, though a treacherous part of her heart leaped. She hated that part. "Are you all right? Honestly, I don't know." He ran a hand through his dark hair, a gesture of frustration she recognized. "She said I was married to my work, that I didn't have room in my life for a real relationship, that I was emotionally unavailable." Rosa set her tablet down on the chair. "Do you want to talk about it? Is she right?" Yates asked, his blue eyes finding hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Am I that closed off?" This was dangerous territory. Rosa chose her words carefully. "You're dedicated to your company. That's not a character flaw. The right person will understand that." "The right person," he repeated with a bitter laugh. "Margaret said I needed someone who would accept being second place to my work." "Is that really what I should be looking for?" "No," Rosa said firmly. "You should be looking for someone who sees your work as part of who you are, not competition. someone who supports your ambitions because they make you happy." Yates studied her for a long moment, and Rosa felt exposed, as if he could see right through her professional mask to the feelings she kept hidden. Then he nodded slowly. "Thank you, Rosa. I don't know what I would do without you." Those words should have made her happy. Instead, they felt like a cage. She would always be the assistant, the right hand, the person he relied on but never truly saw. Over the next few weeks, Rosa watched Yates throw himself even deeper into work. He stayed later at the office, took on more projects, pushed himself harder. She matched him hour for hour, because that was what she did. They ordered takeout and ate at the conference table while reviewing acquisition proposals. They traveled to Miami for a hotel opening and spent the entire flight discussing renovation plans. They functioned as a perfect team, two halves of a well-oiled machine. But Rosa was exhausted, emotionally drained from being so close to him yet infinitely distant. She loved him, and that love was becoming a weight she could not carry. The breaking point came in early December, during the company's annual holiday party. The event was held at their flagship property in Boston, a restored historical building that combined old-world elegance with modern luxury. Rosa wore a simple navy dress, professional yet festive, and spent most of the evening ensuring everything ran smoothly. She was checking on the catering when she saw Yates standing alone on the balcony, looking out at the city lights. Snow was beginning to fall, dusting the streets below with white. Something about his solitary figure pulled at her heart. Before she could stop herself, she walked out to join him. "Hiding from your own party?" she asked lightly. He glanced at her, a small smile playing at his lips. "Taking a breather. These things get exhausting." "You're telling me," Rosa said, leaning against the railing beside him. The cold air bit at her bare arms, but she ignored it. "You should be inside." "It's freezing out here," Yates said, immediately shrugging off his suit jacket and draping it over her shoulders. The gesture was automatic, thoughtless, and devastatingly intimate. Rosa pulled the jacket tighter around herself, breathing in the faint scent of his cologne. "Thank you." They stood in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the snow fall. Then Yates spoke, his voice quiet. "Do you ever feel like you're going through the motions, like you're successful by every measure, but something's missing?" The vulnerability in his question made Rosa's chest ache. "Sometimes," she admitted. "Usually late at night when it's too quiet to ignore the thoughts." "Exactly," he said, looking at her with an expression she could not quite read. "I have everything I'm supposed to want. The company is thriving. I have financial security, respect, influence. But when I come home to my empty apartment, I wonder what it is all for." Rosa's heart hammered. This was the most personal conversation they had ever had. "You're building something meaningful, creating experiences for people, providing jobs, preserving beautiful properties. Is that enough?" he asked. "Or is Margaret right? Am I just hiding behind work because I'm afraid of real connection?" The question hung in the air between them. Rosa knew she should say something encouraging, something that maintained the professional boundary. Instead, she found herself being honest. "I think you're capable of deep connection. I have seen you with your team, with the employees at the hotels, with your family. You care deeply. You just have not found the right person to share it all with yet." "And what about you, Rosa?" Yates asked, turning to face her fully. "Is there someone in your life?" She shook her head. "No, I have been too focused on my career." "You deserve more than just work," he said softly. "You deserve someone who sees how remarkable you are." The words pierced her like arrows. How could he say such things without realizing what they did to her? Rosa felt tears prick her eyes and quickly looked away. "We should get back inside. People will notice you are gone." But Yates did not move. "Rosa, wait, I need to tell you something." Her breath caught. The intensity in his voice, the way he was looking at her, it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. "What is it?" Before he could answer, the balcony door opened and Marcus Webb, the company's CFO, stuck his head out. "Yates, there you are. The mayor just arrived. You should come greet him." The moment shattered. Yates hesitated, his eyes still on Rosa, then nodded. "I will be right there." Marcus disappeared back inside. Yates looked at Rosa again, seeming torn. "We should talk. Tomorrow, maybe, just the two of us, away from the office." Rosa's heart raced. This felt dangerous, like stepping off a precipice, but she nodded. "Okay." "Good," he said, and there was something in his smile that made her pulse quicken. "Wear something comfortable. I have an idea." Then he was gone, back into the party, leaving Rosa standing on the balcony wrapped in his jacket, wondering what had just happened. That night, Rosa could not sleep. She replayed the conversation over and over, analyzing every word, every look. What had Yates been about to say? What did tomorrow mean? She told herself not to hope, not to imagine possibilities that would only lead to heartbreak. But hope was a stubborn thing, refusing to be extinguished. The next morning, Yates picked her up from her apartment in his personal car, not the company sedan with the driver. He was wearing jeans and a thick sweater, more casual than she had ever seen him outside of business travel downtime. "Where are we going?" Rosa asked as she buckled her seatbelt. She had chosen jeans and a warm cable-knit sweater, taking his advice about comfort seriously. "You will see," he said, pulling into traffic with an easy confidence. They drove north out of the city, making conversation about everything and nothing. Yates asked about her family, her childhood, her dreams before she started working for him. Rosa found herself sharing stories she rarely told anyone, about growing up in a working-class neighborhood, about her mother who cleaned houses to put her through college, about her determination to build a better life. "Your mother sounds incredible," Yates said. "She is," Rosa agreed. "She taught me that hard work and integrity matter more than anything else." "She raised a remarkable daughter," Yates said, glancing at her with warmth that made her chest tight. After about an hour, they pulled into a small Christmas tree farm. Rosa looked at Yates in surprise. "Are we getting a Christmas tree?" "I thought it might be nice," he said, almost shyly. "I have not done this since I was a kid. My father always had his assistant order a pre-decorated tree delivered to the house. But I remember going with my mother before she passed, tramping through the snow, finding the perfect tree. It was one of my favorite traditions." Rosa's throat tightened with emotion. Yates rarely mentioned his mother, who had died when he was 14. The fact that he was sharing this, inviting her into this memory, felt significant. They spent the next hour walking through rows of evergreens, debating the merits of different trees. Yates was surprisingly particular, examining each option with the same focus he brought to business decisions. Rosa teased him about it and he laughed, a genuine sound that made her heart soar. "This one," he finally declared, stopping in front of a 7-foot Fraser fir. "What do you think?" Rosa circled it, pretending to evaluate it seriously. "Excellent needle retention, good shape, sturdy branches." "I approve." "Thank goodness," he said with exaggerated relief. "I was worried I would have to start over." They got the tree cut and loaded it into the car together, both of them laughing and covered in sap and pine needles. On the drive back, Yates stopped at a small cafe and insisted on buying them hot chocolate with an absurd amount of whipped cream. "This is perfect," Rosa said, warming her hands on the cup. "Thank you for today." "Thank you for coming," Yates said. He was quiet for a moment, then added, "Rosa, I have been thinking a lot about what you said last night, about finding the right person." Her pulse quickened. "Yes. The thing is, I think I have been blind. Focused on what I thought I was supposed to want, instead of seeing what was right in front of me." He turned to look at her directly. "You are the person I think about when something good happens. You are the one I want to share things with, to talk to at the end of the day. You make everything better just by being there." Rosa's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst from her chest. "Yates, what are you saying?" "I am saying that I have been an idiot. I have been looking for connection while working alongside someone who understands me better than anyone else ever has." He reached across the console and took her hand. "Rosa, I have feelings for you, real feelings. And if there is any chance you might feel the same way, I would like to explore this. Us." The moment stretched out, crystalline and perfect. This was everything Rosa had wanted, everything she had convinced herself she could never have. But reality crashed back in like cold water. "Yates, I am your assistant," she said, pulling her hand back gently. "This could never work. The power dynamics alone would be problematic. And what would people think? They would say I slept my way into my position, that I manipulated you. Your board would have concerns. It would be complicated and messy, and it could damage everything you have built." "I don't care about any of that," Yates said firmly. "We would handle it properly. You could transfer to a different role, work for someone else in the company. Or you could leave entirely and pursue other opportunities. I would support you either way. But I am not going to let corporate politics keep me from the best thing that has ever happened to me." "The best thing," Rosa repeated, her voice breaking. "Yes," he said simply. "Rosa, you are brilliant and kind and funny, and you make me want to be better. You challenge me, support me, call me out when I am being unreasonable. Being around you feels like coming home. So yes, the best thing." Tears slid down Rosa's cheeks. She wanted to believe him, wanted to take this leap. But fear held her back. "You are vulnerable right now after Margaret. What if this is just rebound emotions? What if 6 months from now you realize you made a mistake, and then we have ruined a perfect working relationship for nothing?" "This is not rebound," Yates said intensely. "Rosa, I have felt this way for longer than I want to admit. I just didn't let myself acknowledge it because I thought you were off limits, that it would be inappropriate to pursue my assistant. But now that I have allowed myself to actually feel this, to admit what you mean to me, I cannot go back to pretending." Rosa closed her eyes, torn between hope and fear. "You could have anyone. Someone from your social circle, someone with the right background and connections. Someone who fits naturally into your world." "I don't want anyone else," Yates said, an edge of frustration in his voice. "I want you." "You say that now," Rosa said, opening her eyes to meet his gaze. "But you will find someone better, someone more suitable, more sophisticated. And then this will just be an awkward memory we both regret." The words hung in the air between them. Yates stared at her, something shifting in his expression. Hurt flashed across his face, followed by determination. "Someone better," he repeated slowly. "Rosa, do you really think that little of me? That I would be with you as some kind of placeholder until someone more suitable comes along?" "That is not what I meant," Rosa said quickly, realizing how her words had sounded. "I just mean that rationally, logically, this does not make sense. We are from different worlds." "No," Yates said firmly. "We are from the same world, the one we built together over 3 years of partnership and friendship and mutual respect. That matters more than any social register or family tree." He started the car and pulled back onto the road. The drive back to the city was quiet, tense. Rosa felt miserable, torn between her fear and her longing. She had essentially rejected him, pushed away the man she loved because she was too afraid to believe it could work. When they reached her apartment, Yates got out and helped unload the tree, insisting on carrying it up to her door despite the awkwardness between them. "Thank you for today," Rosa said quietly. "I am sorry if I ruined it." Yates set the tree down gently and turned to face her. You did not ruin anything. But Rosa, I need you to know something. I have never been more certain of anything in my life than I am about my feelings for you. So I am going to give you space to think, to process, to decide what you want. But I am not going to find someone better, because there is no one better. And if you decide you want to take this chance, I will be here. Then he cupped her face in his hands and kissed her forehead, so tenderly that Rosa's knees nearly buckled. When he pulled back, his eyes were full of emotion. "Take all the time you need," he said, "but know that I am not going anywhere." Then he was gone, and Rosa was left standing in her doorway, holding the remnants of her carefully constructed defenses as they crumbled around her. The next week was torture. Rosa went to work as usual, maintaining her professional demeanor, but everything felt different. Yates was polite and respectful, giving her the space he had promised, but there was a careful distance between them now that hurt more than she had expected. They functioned as colleagues, nothing more, and the loss of their easy camaraderie was devastating. Rosa threw herself into the holiday rush, coordinating year-end reports and planning for the new year. She went through the motions, did her job perfectly, and felt hollowed out inside. At night, she stared at the Christmas tree Yates had helped her choose, still undecorated in the corner of her living room, and wondered if she had made the biggest mistake of her life. Her best friend Natalie finally cornered her at their usual Friday happy hour spot. "Okay, spill. You have been miserable all week. What happened?" Rosa found herself telling the whole story, from the balcony conversation to the Christmas tree farm to her rejection of Yates's confession. Natalie listened without interrupting, then fixed Rosa with a stern look. "Let me get this straight. The man you have been in love with for years finally tells you he has feelings for you, and you told him he would find someone better. When you put it like that, it sounds bad," Rosa mumbled into her wine glass. "That is because it is bad," Natalie said bluntly. "Rosa, what are you so afraid of?" "Everything," Rosa admitted. "I am afraid he will realize I am not what he really wants. I'm afraid people will judge us. I'm afraid of losing my job, my career, everything I have worked for. I am afraid of being hurt." "So you are choosing guaranteed heartbreak over the possibility of happiness?" Natalie shook her head. "That is not being smart. That is being a coward." The words stung because they were true. Rosa had always been cautious, careful, risk-averse. It had served her well in her career but left her personal life barren. She had spent so long protecting herself that she had forgotten how to be brave. "What if it does not work out?" Rosa asked quietly. "What if it does?" Natalie countered. "Rosa, you deserve to be loved. You deserve to take chances. And from everything you have told me about Yates, he sounds like a good man who genuinely cares about you. Maybe it is time to trust that." That night, Rosa could not stop thinking about Natalie's words. She paced her apartment, argued with herself, made lists of pros and cons. But ultimately, it came down to one simple question. Was she going to let fear rule her life, or was she going to fight for what she wanted? The answer, when it came, was crystal clear. The next morning was Saturday. Rosa knew Yates often went to the office on weekend mornings when he needed to think. She took extra care getting ready, wearing a soft green sweater that brought out her eyes and jeans that made her feel confident. Then she drove to the Brennan Hospitality Group headquarters, her heart pounding. The building was quiet, most offices dark, but light glowed from the executive suite. Rosa took the elevator up, each floor feeling like an eternity. When she reached Yates's office, she found him at his desk, reviewing documents. He looked tired, shadows under his eyes suggesting he had slept as poorly as she had. He looked up when she entered, surprise flickering across his face. "Rosa, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," she said, closing the door behind her. And I need you to let me say everything before you respond." Yates set down his pen, giving her his full attention. "Okay." Rosa took a deep breath. "You were right. About all of it. I was afraid, and I let that fear make me say something incredibly stupid. When I said you would find someone better, I was really saying that I did not believe I was good enough for you, that I was not worthy of being loved by someone like you." She moved closer to his desk, needing him to see the truth in her eyes. "But the thing is, you make me want to be brave. These past 3 years, working with you, getting to know you, it has been the best part of my life. You are brilliant and driven and kind in ways people do not see. You remember the names of every housekeeper at every property. You personally wrote a recommendation letter for the sous chef in Miami who wanted to go to culinary school. You donated a ridiculous amount of money to the children's hospital and insisted it be anonymous. You are a good man, Yates Brennan, and I have been in love with you for longer than I should admit." Yates stood up slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "Rosa." "I am not finished," she said, holding up a hand. "I know there will be complications. I know people will talk. I know we will have to figure out how to handle the professional aspects. But I don't care about any of that anymore, because you were right. There is no one better, not for me. You are exactly who I want, who I have always wanted. And if you still feel the same way, if I have not completely ruined this, then I am ready to be brave. I am ready to take this chance. With you." The silence that followed felt eternal. Then Yates was moving around the desk, closing the distance between them in 3 long strides. He cupped her face in his hands, the same gesture from before, and looked at her with such intensity that she felt it in her bones. "You have not ruined anything," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "Rosa, I meant every word I said. There is no one better because you are the best. The best partner, the best friend, the best person I know. And I am going to spend every day proving to you that you are worthy of being loved because you are. God, you are." Then he kissed her, and Rosa felt like she was finally home. His lips were warm and firm, the kiss both tender and passionate. She wrapped her arms around his neck, pressing closer, and Yates pulled her tight against him like he was afraid she might disappear. They kissed until they were breathless, until the world narrowed to just the two of them, until Rosa felt like she might burst from happiness. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Yates rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said simply. "I have loved you for a long time. I was just too stupid to realize it." "I love you too," Rosa whispered, and saying the words out loud felt like freedom. "I love you so much it scares me." "Then we will be scared together," Yates said, pressing a kiss to her temple. "And we will figure everything out together. That is what we do best." They spent the rest of the morning in his office, talking through the logistics. Rosa would transition to a new role, working under Marcus in the finance division. It would be a lateral move with the same salary and benefits, eliminating any perception of impropriety. They would wait a few weeks before making their relationship public, giving Rosa time to settle into her new position. And they would be transparent with HR, following all company policies to ensure everything was above board. "I want to do this right," Yates said, holding her hand. "I want there to be no question that you earned your position through merit, that our relationship is between equals who respect and support each other." "We will," Rosa assured him. Together, over the next few weeks, Rosa made the transition to the finance department. Marcus was thrilled to have her, immediately putting her analytical skills to work on a major acquisition project. The work was challenging and engaging, different from her assistant role but equally fulfilling. And the best part was coming home each evening to texts from Yates, stolen moments in empty conference rooms, the secret smiles they shared across crowded meetings. They kept their relationship quiet, taking time to build their foundation away from corporate scrutiny. Yates took her on proper dates, romantic dinners at restaurants where no one from work would see them, walks along the waterfront bundled in winter coats, quiet evenings at his apartment cooking together and talking for hours. Rosa learned things about him she had never known despite years of working together. That he was terrible at cooking but loved trying new recipes. That he had wanted to be an architect before family obligation led him to the hotel business. That he still missed his mother every single day. And Yates learned about her too, discovering her love of old movies and live music, her hidden talent for painting, her dream of someday opening a nonprofit to help underprivileged kids access education and opportunities. He listened to her stories with genuine interest, asked thoughtful questions, made her feel valued not for what she could do for him but simply for who she was. "You are full of surprises," he told her one evening as they watched Casablanca on his couch, Rosa tucked against his side. "I thought I knew you completely, but there are all these layers I am just discovering." "Same goes for you," Rosa said, tilting her head to look up at him. "I knew the CEO, the businessman, but getting to know Yates, the person, is even better." He kissed her, slow and sweet, and Rosa thought she had never been happier. When they finally went public with their relationship in late January, the response was mixed but mostly positive. A few people raised eyebrows, but Rosa's track record and her new position in finance made it clear she had earned her place. The executive team expressed their support, and HR confirmed they had followed all protocols. There was some gossip, inevitable in any company, but it died down quickly when people saw how professional they both remained at work. Rosa's mother was thrilled, having met Yates at a company event years ago and always liked him. "He looks at you like you hung the moon," she told Rosa during a phone call. "That is how your father looked at me. Hold on to that." Yates's father was more reserved, but after a formal dinner where he grilled Rosa about her background and ambitions, he gave his approval. "You are good for him," he told Rosa privately. "He has been different since you two got together. Happier, more balanced. That is all I want for my son." As winter turned to spring, Rosa and Yates settled into a rhythm. They were partners in every sense of the word, supporting each other's careers while building a life together. Yates cut back on his excessive work hours, making time for date nights and weekend trips. Rosa pursued her passion for education access, and Yates helped her develop a business plan for the nonprofit she wanted to create, offering both advice and funding. "You don't have to do that," Rosa protested when he presented her with a check that would cover the first 2 years of operating expenses. "I want to," Yates said firmly. "This is important to you, which makes it important to me. Besides, it is a sound investment. You are going to change lives with this." They attended charity events together, traveled to property openings as a couple, spent holidays with both their families. Rosa moved into Yates's apartment after 6 months, combining their belongings and their lives. She decorated his sterile bachelor space with warmth and color, added books and plants and photos that made it feel like home. One evening in early June, Rosa came home from a particularly long day at work to find the apartment lit with candles. Yates was waiting for her, wearing dark slacks and a crisp white shirt, looking unfairly handsome. "What is all this?" Rosa asked, setting down her bag. "I am making you dinner," Yates said, pulling her into a kiss. "Well, attempting to. Fair warning, it might be terrible." "I am sure it will be perfect," Rosa said, touched by the gesture. Dinner was indeed slightly burnt, the pasta overcooked and the sauce a bit too salty, but Rosa did not care. They ate on the balcony overlooking the city, the same view from where their relationship had begun 6 months earlier. They talked about their days, made plans for an upcoming trip to the West Coast to tour potential properties, laughed at Yates's culinary disasters. After dinner, Yates took her hand. "Come with me." He led her back inside to the living room where the Christmas tree had once stood. In its place was a beautiful painting, an original watercolor of the Boston skyline at sunset. Rosa recognized it immediately as the work of her favorite local artist, someone whose pieces were usually far beyond her budget. "Yates, this is too much," she breathed, moving closer to examine the details. "Look at the dedication," he said softly. Rosa looked at the small brass plaque at the bottom of the frame. It read, "To Rosa, who taught me that the best view is the one you share with someone you love." Tears pricked her eyes. She turned to thank him and found Yates down on one knee, a small velvet box in his hand. "Rosa Kimball," he said, his voice steady despite the emotion in his eyes. "6 months ago you walked into my office on a Saturday morning and told me you were ready to be brave. You took a chance on us, on me, and it has been the greatest gift of my life. Every day with you is better than the last. You challenge me, inspire me, make me want to be the best version of myself. You are my partner, my best friend, the person I want to share every sunset and sunrise with for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" He opened the box to reveal a stunning ring, an emerald-cut diamond surrounded by smaller stones that caught the candlelight. It was elegant and timeless, exactly Rosa's style without being ostentatious. "Yes," Rosa said through her tears. "Yes, absolutely yes." Yates stood and slid the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, then pulled her into his arms. They held each other tight, both crying and laughing at the same time. "I love you so much," Yates whispered against her hair. "I am going to spend the rest of my life proving that you were wrong. There is no one better. There is only you, and that is more than enough. It is everything." "I love you too," Rosa said, pulling back to kiss him properly. "And you are right. There is no one better, just us, and that is perfect." They spent the rest of the evening calling family and friends, sharing their joy. Natalie screamed so loud that Rosa had to hold the phone away from her ear. Rosa's mother cried happy tears. Yates's father offered sincere congratulations and welcomed Rosa officially into the family. Marcus joked that he had seen this coming from the first day Rosa transferred to his department, given how Yates found excuses to visit finance far more often than necessary. The wedding took place 4 months later in October, exactly a year after that fateful conversation on the balcony. They chose one of Brennan Hospitality's properties, a restored Victorian mansion in the Berkshires, for the intimate ceremony. Close family and friends gathered in the garden, surrounded by fall foliage in brilliant shades of red and gold. Rosa wore a simple but elegant gown, lace and satin that made her feel like a princess. Her mother helped her get ready, fussing with her hair and crying the whole time. "You are so beautiful," she kept saying, "and so happy. That is all I ever wanted for you." When Rosa walked down the aisle on her brother's arm, Yates's expression made her breath catch. He looked at her with such love, such wonder, that she felt it in her soul. This was real. This was forever. They exchanged vows they had written themselves. Yates promised to support her dreams, to be her partner in all things, to love her through every challenge and celebration. Rosa promised to be his soft place to land, to challenge him when he needed it and support him always, to choose bravery and love over fear every single day. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Yates kissed her like it was just the two of them in the world, and Rosa knew she had made the right choice. Taking the risk, being brave, believing she was worthy of this love had led her here, to the greatest happiness she had ever known. The reception was joyful and relaxed, full of laughter and dancing and heartfelt toasts. Marcus gave a speech about how he had never seen Yates happier than he had been since Rosa came into his life. Natalie told embarrassing stories about Rosa's previous terrible dating experiences, then got emotional talking about how perfect Yates and Rosa were together. Yates's father welcomed Rosa to the family with genuine warmth, noting that she had brought out the best in his son. But the best moment came late in the evening when Yates pulled Rosa onto the dance floor for a slow song. He held her close, swaying gently to the music, and whispered in her ear, "Remember when you said I would find someone better?" "I was an idiot," Rosa said, resting her head on his shoulder. "You were scared," Yates corrected gently. "But I need you to know something, Mrs. Brennan. I never wanted better. I only wanted you. From the moment I realized what you meant to me, there was never anyone else. There never could be." Rosa looked up at him, this man who had proven his love in 1,000 ways, big and small. "I know that now, and I am so grateful I was brave enough to believe it." "We are both brave," Yates said, kissing her forehead. "Together we can handle anything." And he was right. Over the next few years, they built a life that exceeded both their dreams. Rosa's nonprofit, Access and Opportunity, grew from a small local program to a statewide initiative, providing mentorship and resources to thousands of underprivileged students. Yates supported her work fully, even joining the board and using his business connections to expand their reach. Brennan Hospitality Group continued to thrive under his leadership, but he maintained the work-life balance he had promised, making time for family and personal pursuits. They traveled together, exploring new cities and cultures. They bought a house in the suburbs with room for the family they planned to have. They celebrated anniversaries and birthdays, weathered minor conflicts and major decisions, supported each other through professional challenges and personal growth. Their relationship deepened and matured, the initial passion settling into something richer and more enduring. When Rosa got pregnant 2 years into their marriage, Yates cried. He had been raised by a distant father and desperately wanted to do better for his own children. Rosa assured him he would be an amazing father, and she was right. He was present and engaged throughout the pregnancy, attending every appointment, reading parenting books, converting the spare bedroom into a beautiful nursery. Their daughter Emma arrived on a spring morning, tiny and perfect and absolutely loved. Yates held her with such tenderness, such awe, that Rosa fell in love with him all over again. He was a devoted father, changing diapers and handling middle-of-the-night feedings without complaint, talking to Emma in a soft voice about everything and nothing. "She is perfect," Yates said one night as they watched Emma sleep in her crib, "just like her mother." "She has your eyes," Rosa noted, leaning against his side. "Then she will see the world with clarity and purpose," Yates said, wrapping an arm around Rosa's waist. "Thank you for this. For her, for us, for everything. Thank you for never giving up on us," Rosa said, "for seeing what we could be even when I was too afraid to." "We found our way here together," Yates said. "That is what matters." 2 years later, their son Daniel joined the family, completing them. Life became wonderfully chaotic, full of toys and laughter and the beautiful exhaustion of parenting. Yates stepped back from some of his business responsibilities, promoting qualified executives and delegating more so he could be present for his children. He coached Emma's soccer team and taught Daniel to swim, read bedtime stories and built pillow forts, showed up for school events and dance recitals. Rosa balanced her nonprofit work with motherhood, grateful for the flexibility her position offered. She and Yates shared parenting duties equally, modeling a partnership to their children that was built on mutual respect and support. They had date nights when they could find babysitters, stolen moments of intimacy and connection amid the chaos of raising 2 young kids. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Yates surprised Rosa with a trip back to the Christmas tree farm where everything had begun. They left the kids with her mother and drove north, retracing the route they had taken years before. "I cannot believe it has been 5 years," Rosa said, watching the familiar landscape pass by. "Best 5 years of my life," Yates said, reaching over to take her hand. "And it just keeps getting better." At the tree farm, they walked through the rows of evergreens, holding hands and reminiscing. They found the spot where Yates had picked out that first tree, the one that had still been sitting undecorated in Rosa's apartment when she finally admitted her feelings. "I was so scared that day," Rosa admitted. "Terrified that I had ruined everything by rejecting you." "And I was terrified you would never give us a chance," Yates said, pulling her close. "But you were brave. You came to my office and told me how you felt and changed both our lives." "You changed my life," Rosa corrected. "You saw me, really saw me, when I felt invisible. You made me believe I was worthy of being loved." "You have always been worthy," Yates said fiercely. "I just feel grateful that I get to be the one who loves you." He kissed her there among the trees, the same kind of kiss from that Saturday morning in his office, full of love and promise and certainty. When they broke apart, both smiling, Rosa felt the same sense of rightness that had guided her to this man, this life, this happiness. They picked out a tree together, a family tradition now, and drove it back to their house where the kids were waiting. Emma and Daniel helped decorate it that evening, hanging ornaments with chubby hands while Yates lifted them to reach the higher branches. Rosa watched her family, her heart so full it felt like it might overflow. Later, after the kids were in bed, Rosa and Yates sat on the couch admiring the tree. The lights twinkled in the darkness, casting a warm glow over the room. "Do you remember what you said that day in the cafe?" Yates asked, pulling Rosa against his side. "When I told you I had feelings for you." "I said a lot of stupid things," Rosa said ruefully. "You said I would find someone better," Yates said. "And I have spent 5 years proving you wrong. There is no someone better, Rosa. There is only you, and that has always been enough. More than enough. You are everything." Rosa turned to kiss him, pouring 5 years of love and gratitude into it. "And you are everything to me. Thank you for never giving up on us." "Never," Yates promised. "This is it for me. You, our kids, the life we have built together. This is my happily ever after." "Mine too," Rosa whispered. And it was true. From that first moment on the balcony, through fear and uncertainty and brave choices, to this perfect life they had created together, Rosa had found her home. Not in a place, but in a person. In Yates Brennan, who had seen her worth when she could not see it herself, who had chosen her every day, who had proven that sometimes the greatest love stories start with believing you deserve to be loved. Years later, when Emma was a teenager and asked Rosa about how she and Yates fell in love, Rosa told her the whole story. About working together, about falling secretly in love, about that night on the balcony when everything changed. "But you tried to push him away," Emma said, confused. "You told him he would find someone better." "I did," Rosa admitted, "because I was scared. Because I did not believe I deserved someone as wonderful as your father, but he never gave up. He saw something in me that I could not see in myself." "That is so romantic," Emma sighed. "It is," Rosa agreed. "But the most important part of the story is this. Your father taught me that being worthy of love is not about being perfect or coming from the right background or fitting into someone else's expectations. It is about being yourself, fully and authentically. And when you find someone who loves you for exactly who you are, who sees your value and celebrates it, that is when you know you have found something real." "How did you know Dad was the one?" Emma asked. Rosa thought about it carefully. "Because he made me want to be brave. Because being with him felt like coming home. Because he saw me, truly saw me and loved what he saw. And because he showed up every single day and chose me. That is what real love looks like, sweetheart. Not grand gestures or fairy tale perfection, but consistent, unwavering, everyday choosing. Emma hugged her mother tight. I hope I find someone like that someday. You will, Rosa assured her. And when you do, be brave enough to take the chance. It will be worth it. That evening, after Emma went to bed, Rosa found Yates in his study, reviewing reports for an upcoming board meeting. She wrapped her arms around him from behind, resting her cheek against his shoulder. Emma asked me about our love story today, she said. What did you tell her? Yates asked, covering her hands with his. The truth. That I tried to push you away because I was scared, that you never gave up. That choosing you was the bravest and best decision I ever made. Yates turned in his chair and pulled Rosa onto his lap, something he had been doing since they first got together and still made her heart flutter. I am the lucky one. You took a chance on me, on us. You believed in what we could be together. We believed in each other, Rosa corrected. That is what made the difference. Yates kissed her slow and deep, a kiss that still made her toes curl after all these years. I love you, Rosa Brennan, more today than yesterday, less than tomorrow. I love you too, Rosa said, resting her forehead against his. And you were right all along. There is no someone better. There is only us, and that is perfect. They sat together in the quiet study, holding each other. Two people who had found their way to each other through bravery and persistence and love. Rosa thought back to that scared woman who had told a man he would find someone better, never imagining he would spend the rest of his life proving her wrong in the most beautiful way possible. She had been so afraid of not being enough, of being a placeholder, until something better came along. But Yates had shown her that love was not about being better or best. It was about being right for each other, about building something together that was stronger than anything either could create alone. It was about choosing each other, every day, in big ways and small. And that, Rosa knew, was the real fairy tale. Not perfection, but partnership. Not finding someone better, but realizing the person you already have is exactly who you need. Not waiting for a prince to rescue you, but being brave enough to rescue yourself and build a life with someone who sees you as an equal, a partner, a love worth fighting for. Outside, snow began to fall, just like it had that night on the balcony 7 years ago when everything changed. But inside, wrapped in Yates's arms, Rosa felt nothing but warmth. This was home. This was love. This was her happily ever after, built one brave choice at a time with a man who had never wanted better because he had always known she was everything he needed. And in the end, that made all the difference.